Senada, your story is you came from Bosnia. Why don't you share with us briefly your story?
Well, we actually have a lot in common in that regard. I lived through the war in Bosnia in 91, 92. I was a teenager. I was 13 years of age, and saw more atrocities and horrific things than most people will see in their lifetime. And I worked for the United Nations at the time and got a chance once in a lifetime, to come to the United States to study. And, we were refugees during the war in Bosnia. We lost absolutely everything. I also lost my father. And it was, a pretty big deal for me to come to the United States because it paved the way to help all my family to come here.
Were you the first in your family to come to the United States? Wow.
Yes, I was the first one. I came with $200 in my pocket and a scholarship, which was pretty cool, and worked really hard. Ended up getting my undergrad degree, moved to New York, worked in healthcare venture capital, and then got an opportunity to work for Donald Trump. So it was the most unusual experience in that, I'm an immigrant, I'm a woman, right? Used to be a refugee, and coming to work in the big city was pretty awesome. That's why I have such a soft spot for New York. I love New York so much. In that place, people welcome you with your differences, with what you have to contribute, right? And after being there for about 6 years, I decided...
They're meaning with Trump organization.
Yes,
Got it.
yes.
Yeah.
So after being in New York with the Trump organization, with Trump International in particular, I decided it was time for me to have a little bit of an easier life because working, let's say, 80 hours a week is good for a few years when you're young.
Is that the expectation?
That's the expectation.
80 hours a week.
Easy.
Wow.
And after, doing that for 5 years, you come to a point where you're like, okay, I need to relax a little. So I moved with Blackstone when they bought the Boca Resort. I moved here to Boca Raton, and I love this little place. And I used to get teased a lot by my New York friends, like, Boca Raton, like, seriously? It's such a
What would they tease you about?
It's a sleepy town. It was known at the time, 13 years ago, as the retirement community, and it's not that. So if you move to Boca Raton, you're going to have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what they told me when we were coming on here. But like, honestly, we came here, the way they described it was the best. Say Miami, you got Palm Beach, okay? You can even go Jupiter if you want to. Pace and speed of lifestyle. More south, faster. More up, slower.
Yeah,
I like a little bit of pace, but not too much. Boca's a good place to be in the middle.
Exactly.
Pacing.
Exactly.
So you're saying, you work with Trump obviously directly. You guys work very closely together.
Yes.
Was he a pretty intense, high standard guy himself?
He was.
And was he like one of those guys that's always on, where he'd come in to work, he was also working hard himself? He wasn't just expecting you to work hard, or was he also always working hard himself?
He was always working hard himself. So, we would start at like 7:30 or so, and I'd be there until 10:30, 11. And we call him Mr. T. So he would come in the morning to see who's there, who's the first one in the office. Work.
What time would he get in the office?
I don't know, 8 o'clock or so.
8 o'clock. Step it up, Donald. I've already been in the office for
you're
3 hours,
fan.
buddy.
Not you, Adam. Not you.
Step it up, Don.
Stop it. Not you. Adam's a 9:30 guy.
Yeah.
After you do your yoga, that's
I'll do
when
my
you come.
yoga.
Yeah, you relax.
Well, what time did we start today?
At 7:30.
So how am I a 9:30 guy?
Wait
We
a
started
minute.
at 7:30.
Once a week, you're here at 7.
Twice a week.
What's it twice a week? The podcast?
We do the podcast.
I got to give it to you. Respect.
Okay.
Ever
That's
since
just
you
basic
started,
math.
So ever since you started working here, we got you coming here at 7:30.
And
running
that's a
laps
big
around
deal
Trump.
for Florida, Pat. That's a huge deal.
I tell people from New York all the time, if you come down to Florida and you keep that New York mentality, that hustle, that you're going to kill it.
The world, yeah.
Because everyone in Florida, I'm sleeping in, I might go to the beach today, I'm hungover.
So funny.
I was on a yacht yesterday.
Well, you actually were on a yacht.
Yeah, that's why I was hungover
yeah,
yesterday. That's what I'm saying. Like, yesterday was rough. Now I'm back in it. But you understand, like,
I totally get it.
am I wrong on that, or am I?
You are 100%
exactly.
So let's go back to it. So Trump was a hardworking guy who expected his people to also work hard.
Yes.
What did you learn from working? Because when you work with somebody like that for 5 to 6 years, you're going to walk away picking up a lot of stuff. What were some of the things you took away from working with them?
A few things, but number one was, I remember when I first got there in the office, there was a plaque that says start from the end. And it took me a few seconds to understand what that truly means, but he is always like, get to the point, and he never had the time to listen how you got to a certain point. It was just like start from the end. So.
You know what
What's
this
your
is?
point?
So this is a recording they made because Adam will go and say some stuff, and I'll say, "What's your point?"
And now we got a button.
Yeah, now we got a button for it. So he would say, "Get to the point."
Get to the point, and it trains you how to think differently, and that's what happened to me. I immediately get to the point, and then it would be like, "What's your suggestion?" Because coming with problems to him was not optimal. Come with, "What's your point, and what do you suggest?" Another thing that I learned is like figure it out, which is if you're tasked with discerning, for me it was Trump International, I worked with a company called Bayrock. If you were tasked with figuring out who's going to be your target market for Trump Soho, how do you get highest price per square foot, and everything had to be the highest, the best, you know, the most glamorous and everything. So you would go into this process of what's it going to take, and the standards were so high that you knew if you just, you know, come up with a little report, and he hated reports, you would have to tell him, you know, it's the Russians who will want to pay the highest price per square foot. Why? Not because of the location, but because of the brand. This is what you need to do with the brand. So it was really interesting for me, at least, coming from venture capital to real estate development and real estate marketing in particular, how to understand to maximize the value of a brand to achieve maximum price per square foot.
Interesting.
And the other thing was, which I think translated subsequently to his political arena, was know your people, know your audience. And if you tried to target very specific audience who already loved the brand, you just needed to focus on them. You didn't have to worry about trying to sell to someone else.
So specific niche, work on a niche that you had.
Very
Riches
specific
in the
niche.
niches, you know, the whole, okay.
Yeah. So those were like some of the big lessons, and the other one was always be on. You know, I used to work from whenever I woke up, didn't even have time to train. You get ready, you get to the office, you work, you go to grab a bite to eat at like 6 o'clock, and oftentimes he would pop in at like 10:30 to the office to see who's still there. At night.
Yeah.
And I remember one night in particular where I was really tired. I was working on a project in Phoenix, so I had taken the red eye, and I was at the office. It was like 10 o'clock. I was exhausted and, you know, just kind of, okay, let me just finish this. And he came by the office, and we're all like, okay. He's like, you don't have makeup. Like, why do you look so tired? And I'm like, well, I've been, you know, working hard. He's like, get it together, finish, and go home.
Wow.
So
like disrespectfully, or?
No, it wasn't even disrespectful. It was like just an observation. I didn't take it disrespectfully, but it was like, you always had to be on.
Well, think about it. Think about it. So just so you know, he got his work ethic and his hustle from his dad, but he got his swag from his mom. His mom was always on, and his mom always had the expectation that you gotta, like, the swab, you know, the swagger was a mom thing. I don't know if you've seen his mom's hair, you know, hairdo, what it looked like.
She had like a bouffant.
Yeah, like pretty much. So if you look at,
that's a great word. Just say bouffant.
Well, think about it. Have you ever seen him not look put together?
Yes.
When?
There's a lot of photos of him looking sloppy.
When have you seen
sloppy?
him?
Sloppy Don?
When have you seen him being sloppy? You don't see it. If there is photos, it's because there's billions of photos. But the guy is pretty much,
granted,
put
he's
together.
always suited and booted and fake tan, and
so
we get it.
Did you ever see him negotiate or no? Did you ever actually witness him negotiating?
Yes.
What was his style?
The same what you've seen in the White House. I mean, he's really like, just get it done. He doesn't care how you get it done. Very intimidating. Like, I've never seen him smile during those 5 years. So that's, you know, he's very, very serious. Very intimidating. And he would listen, but he would only listen to people he trusts. So people who are in his inner circle, including his children.
Got it. And did the people that were in his inner circle, did they stay there for a long time, or would they churn and burn, kind of like politics?
No,
okay,
not
so
churn.
On the business side, they would stay with him for a long time.
On the business side, from his assistants to people who worked for him were there for decades.
Got it. Last question for you about him driving. How did he drive people? Like, there's different ways people drive their teammates, their staff, their salespeople. What was his style?
I would say fear-based in a way.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
because he would have really high expectations. So if you fall beneath whatever that high standard is, it's like you don't belong there. So not as many carrots in that, he thought that people should pay him to work for him in a way. So many people stay there for quite a long time because once you're in that inner circle, there's the, material and financial benefit.
Do people make money working with them? Like if you stay with them long term, you're going to make money?
Yes. So you have to get through a certain threshold and certain point in order to make money. So I don't think, it's just the environment was really stressful. It was very competitive. But I think I learned a lot from it. And for me, like, I'm not afraid. I lived through a war. So unless someone has a gun to my head, I'm not afraid of you.
Do you kind of need to have that thick skin to even be in that organization?
You do, absolutely.
Like if you're not really ready for criticism or to work hard, like that's not the place you should.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct.
Question. Seems like you had a beneficial experience. There were some pros and cons, and you worked hard, but overall it was a net positive, right? And you've worked pretty closely with him. I mean, you're saying you'd be in the office working at 10 p.m. and he'd show up, and you interacted with him. But you're also an immigrant.
Yes.
You live in New York City. Like you have clearly a love for diversity and inclusion and all that stuff. How shocking was it when you saw the switch from businessman Donald Trump to politician Donald Trump? You're like, oh, I can see that, or you're like, whoa, I don't even recognize this guy. Where'd you go with that?
That's a really great question because as someone who's seen the business persona for all that time, when I saw the political persona, I was not shocked at all. And I actually knew how he is and that he would polarize the country. That was very obvious because he has very strong, very clear set of values, what's important to him and how he is and how he thinks. So if you know how he thinks, you know how he's going to act in whatever arena he's in. So it was really difficult for me in that, yes, my experience working there was a net positive, but as an immigrant, as a woman, it was really tough for me to see some of the statements, many statements that he's made and even what's happened in the Capitol and but it's not shocking to me.
Because he steers the pot.
He likes that.
Yeah,
he
I can see that.
He enjoys that.
I'm not surprised either. I mean, if you just watch him at Apprentice. He steers the pot. His entire career is about steering the pot. Like, what do you expect him to do? He's going to continue steering the pot. But, kudos to you for your story to go from Bosnia to come to New York, to work for Trump Organization 5 to 6 years, to come over here. After your father passed, you've experienced all this different mess, and you come and you see what's going on with America right now. Senada, how much do you love America? I'm curious. I can answer that from mine, but I want to hear from you. How much do you love America from your perspective?
I love it.
What do you love about it? What do you love about it?
I love the freedom.
Okay.
I love the freedom of speech.
Yep.
I love the fact that you can be an immigrant, you can be a woman, you can speak with an accent but not think with one and make it in this country. You can be an entrepreneur.
I love that.
What does that mean, speak with an accent but not think with one?
I say that because
I've never heard that before.
You get underestimated when you speak with an accent. That's at least what I've experienced. And I joke about it, and I heard that from a good friend of mine who's Cuban. And I really took that on. It means that don't underestimate me.
I like it. There's two people here with an accent, and a third one that can do any accent. Her and I have an accent. Yes. We give you an accent. You do a German accent for us.
Isn't that crazy? I tell you. Do you want me to do accent? But don't forget, we also have other accent boy here.
That's a Bruno accent.
Yeah, that's like my gay German Bruno thing going on.
That's a Bruno accent.
Kai actually speaks with a thick Norwegian accent, but he fakes it because he wants to speak like an American. Well, Kai, let me hear some Norwegian.
Oh my gosh.
Some Norwegian or a Norwegian accent?
All the above.
Give
baby.
the accent. Give the accent.
I is from Norway. I moved to Florida, and now I live here.
Wow, you can do it.
bad.
Good for you.
Not bad.
Good for
No,
you.
that's how they speak.
No,
Very
that's
nice.
that's
I
how.
think that's if Bruno were from Norway.
Yes, she just called you out, bro. By the way, Kai,
teasing.
Kai
Okay.
shout out to Kai. He's
Since-
talent. He's behind the scenes.
Yes.
He's
So since
MVP.
we're on the topic,
Yeah.
let's just wrap this up since we're on the topic because I'm curious. By the way, somebody's asking a question here. Daniel Astacio, I'm going to get your question here. Matter of fact, I'll just ask her right now. Her advice to a Florida realtor and her favorite books for realtors.
Wow. Advice to Florida realtors is give it your all. It's a crazy time, and I think just work really, really hard right now, and be prepared. Save all your money because we don't know how long this is going to
Let
last.
me hear you say, save that money.
Save that money.
No, seriously. So work because
There
you
you
don't
go,
know how long this
Senada.
is going to
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
I think that's very
The
good
good
counsel.
times may not last forever.
I
for
think
sure.
this is very good counsel. So save like you've never saved before in today's economy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Some people love to spend when the money is there, but I just say
Yeah.
save all your money. Be very, very careful how you plan for your future because nothing lasts forever.
It's crazy. I'm buying a house right now, and I know I'm not buying at the best market, and I know that.
What does that feel like, knowing
But
that
no,
you're buying at the
but
top
I'm-
of the
I'm
market?
not, but I know, like we just had a conversation right off
Yeah.
off camera about whether you buy structure, you buy land, all this other stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a good team. I think we're pretty clear on what we're looking for. I think everybody's managing expectation well, and we will see what's going to be taking
Let
place.
me ask
But
Senada one last question, just before, because I know
On
we're going to
Trump
move on.
or
No,
on-
and just on real estate
Yeah,
in
go ahead.
general.
Yeah.
So take off your $25 million hat and put back on your $700,000 hat, right? You
Okay.
said that's okay.
Absolutely.
So what advice do you have for our audience who are, maybe they're buying a first-time home and, maybe they're not in Miami, maybe they're anywhere. Just, we talked about the list. Who should be buying a place right now? Who should be like, look, maybe you're renting. Like, give you advice to the $500,000 buyer, $1 million buyer, real quick, not the $25 million buyer. Would you?
Absolutely.
Sure.
That's a really good question in that most people feel that real estate is their highest asset, right? Like the highest valued asset. So when you're making that big decision, and it's a very emotional decision, not just financial, I would say be logical, not as emotional about your purchase. Look for off-market opportunities. That's a big one because most people just look what's on the market right now. Use your resources, your connections, your people to look for things that are not even on the market. Because there are, things change. Unfortunately, in our business, divorce is one of the major reasons for people to want to change their home situation. So I would say, regardless of the price range, but $700,000, definitely finance because the rates are so low. Look for good opportunities, knowing that it's about the value. So if you decide to sell in 3, 5, 7, or 10 years, that you're going to be able to sell your property and not regret your decision.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.